Are you sick or just taking advantage of your employer? Myrna Sachs joins me in studio to talk about the sick note. Is it a crime to actually be sick?
Okay, it's not a crime, it's never been a crime. Basic Conditions of Employment Act actually legislate leave, as in any other leave, normal leave that a person takes. So clause 22 and 23 of the Act actually says how many days you're allowed and how to access that leave. So if you're a 5-workday week, like normal, all of us normal people, it's 30 days in a 3-year cycle. If you work 6 days a week, it's 36 days in a 3-year sick leave cycle.
So why does it become a bone of contention for employers?
I think it's always been a bone of contention. I think what's happening now is the POPI, so the Privacy Act, so employees are allowed to say to doctors, don't put my medical diagnosis on the certificate. So it's making it harder for employees to actually manage the sick leave within a workplace. So they don't know what to do with the employee. So for your first 2 days of sick leave, you don't actually need to give a sick note. So you don't have to tell your employee anything. It's from that 3rd day onwards that you need to then prove your incapacity. And it does cause an effect of, well, how long is reasonable? Unlike normal leave, it's unscheduled. So employers have no idea when that person is going to take off leave. So it impacts the bottom line, it impacts on production line, on morale of other staff who are now doing other people's work, temp costs. So what they say is, besides the normal payroll cost that you're paying that person for not being there, it's 2.5 to 3 times that payroll salary. So it's quite an impact. It's costing South Africa billions currently.
So then the question then becomes, what constitutes a valid sick note? Okay,
so a valid sick note is, it must have the doctor's details, the name, the practice number. His practice number must be there, address, contact details, the person's name, the employee or whoever's sick, their name must be on there. There must be dates from and to. So it must stipulate that you're off work from this date to that date. The diagnosis only with informed consent would you have the diagnosis on it. It needs to say whether the person is partially or totally impacted. So can they do, the doctors love sedentary work, or light duty is their favorite. There is no such thing as light duty. So it needs to be stipulated on there. Then also it must be dated. So you can't just have a sick note with no date, because then I can come in and write any date on that sick note. It also needs to, the doctor's qualifications need to be there also.
So it's quite thorough at the end of the day.
It is thorough, and the Health Professions Council has actually put out guidelines on what actually constitutes a valid sick note. So for any employer who's actually questioning it, they can actually go onto the Health Council's website and actually get exactly what constitutes a valid sick note.
Which brings me to this question. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you think the reason why the sick note is perhaps being abused is partly a result of employers creating a rather unpleasant sort of working environment for employees?
Can we say yes and no? I'm not going to answer that fully. But your Occupational Health and Safety Act stipulates that employers must have a healthy, safe environment. So it allows, employers are regulated that they have to have a safe environment for employers. Some employers have got employee assistance programs, which actually help employees. So if they're going through a tough time, instead of taking sick leave, they can actually phone in the call center to get advice on what to do. But people are taking sick leave for their children are sick, so they take sick leave. They just don't feel like getting out of bed in the morning, they take sick leave. So there is an abuse there, but if it's managed correctly, then people who are validly sick need to still take that sick leave and be allowed to take that sick leave.
Any advice to give both employers and employees?
I think having a well-managed absenteeism program, it cannot be punitive. Employees mustn't be scared to take sick leave. Sick leave is there, and it's there for conditions. So if someone is abusing their sick leave, and they've taken now 28 days in a sick leave cycle, and now all of a sudden they're in a car accident or get a chronic condition, cancer, whatever, then they don't have sick leave to take. So it has to be a trust relationship between employer and employee. Employers must be able to trust that an employee is giving in a valid sick note. But if an employer is managing it correctly, and employees feel, the word I'm looking for, feel empowered, or they feel that they can be trusted in a workplace, you'll get less abuse of the sick leave.